Today I'm going to show you my solution for keeping push sticks, push blocks, and the jigs I use the most close by the table saw but still out of the way. So stick around and check it out. Okay, the first thing is this little contraption I made to hold my push sticks. I attached some magnets that I bought from Harbor Freight for a few dollars, but honestly I don't even think it needs it. The way it's set up is so when you slide it on, it's really quite snug and there's little chance of the weight of the push sticks pulling it off. Maybe if there was a lot more weight to these, it would be beneficial. But anyway, so I can take the push sticks that I attach some string to and just hang them right on it. It keeps them out of the way, but keeps them really close by for when I need them. And unlike the bolt that I used to have attached to the cast iron there, I do not tear my pants when I walk by the table saw now. Okay, now on to the jigs. This is the nightmare that I had been living with my jigs. I don't have a ton of wall space to hang things, so this was my solution. And please excuse the mess behind the jigs. Here we have my 45-degree angle jig, and also a jig that I use primarily as a joining jig, although I can rip some angled cuts on it. But this jig utilizes the match fit system by Micro Jig, and honestly it works really well. It is a whole lot better than my old joining jig. Now to hang these jigs, I was able to use some leftover hardware that was meant for some pegboard that I hung in the shop, and these things work perfectly. There were holes already in the cast iron top and they just sit flush right in there, so it worked out really nice. Now for the jigs, I just drilled a couple holes in each one of them at an angle, and now these jigs sit vertically. They don't flare out at the bottom, and they are right at my fingertips at the end of the saw. At the back of the saw, under the outfeed extension, I was able to use the same type of hardware that was left over from the pegboard, only this time I did have to drill holes into the base of the table saw. So I will say be careful if you do this not to drill into any components. Now the crosscut sled I have is quite long, and it definitely would not fit at the side of the table saw, but it fits perfectly under this outfeed extension. Now over the crosscut sled, I was able to just kind of drape this sacrificial fence I made that also uses the match fit system by Micro Jig. Now for the last jig on the opposite side of the table saw from the 45-degree jig and the joining jig, I was able to attach some leftover wire I had from some lights behind the washer of this bolts in the rail of the table saw. Then I bent some aluminum rod into hooks that I then hung from the wire, and once again just drilled some holes into the jig and hung the jig from those hooks. All right, so that's it for today. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel, but if you didn't, go f*** yourself. With Black Otis Studio, this is Matt signing off.